Hi everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at a new light from Zhiyun. It's their Molus G200 video light. And even though they call it a video light, I'm going to be looking at it from a photographer's perspective in the demos and examples I'll be giving, but also go over some of the specs that I think videographers might be interested in and do a quick demo on that as well. Now, full disclosure, Zhiyun did send this out to me to review, but they're not paying me anything to do this review, and they're not going to see it before it's published. And as always, I'll give you my honest and fair opinion. Now, when they reached out to me, what kind of caught my eye about this light were two things. One was that it's a 300 watt light, and two, it's very unique design, and it's very compact and lightweight. Now, I guarantee a lot of other lighting manufacturers are looking at this design and trying to figure out how they can copy or improve upon it, because this offers a lot of advantages over the standard sort of like cinder block designs of other 300 watt lights. All right, now let's look at what makes this design kind of unique, is that they have separated the lighting head from the power brick and control unit. So just ignore sort of the light stand adapter and the handle that I've attached here. This is the lighting head right here. This is all it is, right? Very compact, 300 watts. And then this is the power brick and the control unit. So you control the light from here separately from the light itself. And then this just plugs right into the mains. Now, when you compare this to my other 300 watt light that I have here, this is the light by itself, right, with the controls on the back. And then you have also the power brick that plugs into the mains. So you can see this unit here is much bigger and heavier than, say, this unit here. So this solves a few problems, right? Number one is the weight that goes on the top of your light stand. So it's going to be a lot less top heavy as opposed to using like most 300 watt lights that are sort of like this, big and heavy. Also, it's much quieter and runs cooler. So they have a very large heat sink inside with a multi-bladed fan. So even at full power, this fan is relatively quiet. I mean, if you have this at a normal working distance, most microphones are not going to pick that up. And then having the power brick here separate with the control unit built in, it also has a little handle here that you can hang on the light stand, and I'll show you that in a minute. But this makes it much easier to control, because a lot of times when you have your lighting unit on the light stand, right, and the controls on the back, this is going to be way high up. And sure, you can control it using an app, which is probably the best way to do it. But a lot of times I like to just turn the lights on and get started and adjust the power without having to, connect through Bluetooth and then get into I hate using apps personally. Now, another key advantage to this design, as you've seen, it has a very, very slim profile. So this allows you to put the light in places that you couldn't do otherwise with lights of similar power. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to do a shot with like some overhead lighting. And I was able to attach this to my floor stand with the articulating arm and put this light very, very close to the top of the ceiling, and then attach the light modifier and then stand underneath it with no problem. Because of this low profile, I'm able to just get an extra 5 or 6 inches of space that allows me to do that. Or if I wanted to put this very close up against one of the walls, I can do that, or into a corner. So again, having a small, powerful light has a lot of advantages when it has such a small profile. Also, I mentioned earlier, this thing weighs a little over 4 pounds, and that's for the entire unit, for the light head and the power brick. But this unit here is only a little over 2 pounds, which is about the weight of most cameras with a lens, right? So what you can do is you can actually attach a light to a grip like I have here and shine the light in different places and see how it looks on your model or whatever your subject is. And then once you've determined the best placement for the light very easily this way, you can just put it back on the light stand where it needs to be. Or if you have a second person with you, they can illuminate subjects if you're doing video work and illuminate the scenes that you need them to illuminate. And to that effect, you get about 6 feet of cord between the light and the power brick, and then the power brick gets about another 9 feet to the outlet. And of course, you can always add extension cords, but you have a very, very comfortable workflow even if you want to hand hold this and shine different objects as needed. Now, one other feature I want to mention, and I don't really see a use case for this in photography, but maybe in videography, or maybe if you're just having a party at your house, but this light has a microphone built into it, so it's sensitive to sound, and it'll flash whenever it hears any sound. So let me just quickly demo. As you can see, as I'm talking, the light is blinking. Anytime it picks up the sound of my voice, it should be flashing. And, like I said, I don't see a lot of use case for this. It's kind of gimmicky to me, but, if you want to have some fun with it at a party, go for it. All right, now let's take a closer look at some of the other design elements. And as you can see, each unit has its own fan and heat sink, so they both run very quietly and efficiently. However, the fan guards here are removable, so you can take these off because over time the fans and the heat sinks can get dusty and dirty and not run as efficiently. So you can take these off easily with these 4 screws, clean them out, and put the cover back on. And also the power cord here is locked. It's not going to pull out or work its way loose on its own. It's locked into place, and to unplug this and release it, you just pull down and it comes straight out and unlocks. So that's kind of a nice feature there. Also, the light stand adapter here is screwed into the metal part of the light here, and it has its own umbrella hole here, and also the swivel down here up to 180 degrees in either direction. Now moving over to the controller, you can see it's a very simple design. We have 2 knobs here that are pushable. The left knob here controls the brightness, the right knob here controls the color temperature. And you just dial this in to whatever temperature you want in increments of 100 up to 6500 down to as low as 2700. Or if you push on it, it'll step into the most common Kelvin temperatures that we use. So there's 5500, 6500, and then back to 2700. And then over here, the power is adjustable smoothly in 1% increments. And as you can see, the light gets brighter very gradually. It doesn't step. So if you want to have a nice smooth dimming action or brightening action, you can do that with this light, of course. Or if you want to jump, it'll jump in increments of 20%. So it'll do 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100. Now, something you have to know, though, is that when we're at 100%, this is operating in the nominal 200 watt mode. So 100% is actually only 200 watts. To go into the 300 watt mode, you actually have to push and hold these 2 buttons together. And then you'll see a little max icon pop up at the top. Now you're operating in the full 300 watt mode. Now looking at the front of the unit, we have a standard Bowens mount, which is the most common mount for all kinds of different lighting modifiers. Now this mount is actually made out of plastic, so I wouldn't feel comfortable putting anything bigger than, say, a 30 by 60 softbox or maybe a 30-inch parabolic light modifier. But that said, everything I've mounted to this has been perfectly fine and very snug. It doesn't move or rattle or anything. It's very snug fit. So it seems fine, but again, it is plastic. Also on the front of the light here, I don't know if you can see, there's a little reflection here. They actually put a glass protector plate in front of the COB LED light so that you're not going to touch it or smudge it or get dust and dirt on it that could potentially damage the LED light when it's operating at such high temperatures. And also, like in the summertime in particular, if you're using this bare bulb, bugs tend to fly right into it, right? And that could also damage the COB. So this is a nice little touch. And you'll also notice that inside where the light is, there's a little mini reflector, so it helps project the light even more forward, so you get even more light output, because it's going to be more focused right from the start. Now another thing I want to mention is that the controller has a physical power on-off switch. So this is really handy for when you want to plug this light into, say, a power strip with a bunch of other lights and then turn them all on at the same time. You don't have to go to each individual light. You just leave this on the on position and it'll actually remember the last setting that you used. So if I had it set to 3300 Kelvin at 50%, when I turn the power off and the next day come in and turn the power on, the light will come on and remember those settings at 3300 Kelvin, 50% brightness. And speaking of power, this light doesn't have any battery option or external battery option like V-mount batteries. And it's really intended for indoor use in studio, and it's not weather sealed or anything. However, I have used this outdoors, and all you really need is like a little power station that has the AC plugs in them. This is the one I use. You want to make sure you get at least a 300 watt power station, of course, because this is 300 watt light. that has the AC adapter, and you want to make sure that the AC outlets are using a sine wave curve. These are everywhere on Amazon, and they're actually a lot cheaper than buying a V-mount system if you don't have one already. And I ran this light at varying power levels for about an hour, and my power station only dropped down to 70%. But in theory, you could run this light at full 300 watt power for 1 hour on something like this. All right, now let's take a quick look at the app. It's called the ZY Vega app, and you can download this for your Android or for your iPhone. In this case, I'm using my iPad, and it pairs up easily enough with the unit. And I've set it up here already as the G200, and then it's going to connect to the light, and it's showing me that it's found the Molus G200 3FBB. I'll select on that. And this is where I can kind of set the temperature. Now in this room, I've set up all the lighting for 3300 Kelvin, so I can just kind of dial it in this way if I want, and then add the brightness. And you should see it adding light to my scene here, like that. If I want to match the temperature exactly to all of the existing lighting I've set up, it has another nice feature here called CCT pair. So I'll click on that. And then I'll point the iPhone camera at, say, a gray card. In this case, I'm just going to use this backdrop because this should be 18% gray. And I'll just point it over here and say, match. And when you look at the screen, it's telling me that this backdrop is at 3400 Kelvin. And I'll go back, and then I can just adjust the brightness now. And now the lighting coming off of the G200 exactly matches the ambient lighting here in the room. And then of course we have presets here for just daylight, which is going to be a lot cooler. Tungsten lighting, which is a little bit warmer. Modeling light, a little bit cooler. Whatever that is, fluorescent, sunlight, and so on. Now you can use this light outdoors given you have a power source. Maybe it's like the power station that I showed earlier. But with a 300 watt peak output power, it'll crank out more than enough light to use this midday. Now granted, today was a little bit cloudy, but you could even do this on a sunny day in the shade. But what I did here is I underexposed the scene so that the clouds will come into the background behind me. And then I just added the lighting to fill in the shadows. And then I was able to get a shot like this for video work. Now you can apply these same principles in photography. So if you look at this shot here, this is just a normal ambient light shot, which is okay. But then if you lower the exposure down, then use the LED light to fill in the shadows, you can get a much more dramatic shot like this. Now even in an indoor setting, a lot of times you need 200 or 300 watts of light output, especially if you're going to be using light modifiers like this optical SNU with these inserts. And what they do is project sort of like a silhouette of whatever the insert is. In this case, it's window blinds. And I decided to go for like a film noir type look. And this would really not be possible unless I had at least 200 watts of power. And it gets even worse when you start adding gels and things like that to the modifier, like in this example here where I'm doing sort of a Star Wars theme with the lightsaber, and adding the gel and the light modifier really killed almost 90% of the light, but because it has enough power, I was able to get a shot like this. Now, LED lighting has a lot of advantages for photographers as well, because when you turn the light on, you immediately see where the light is going, where the shadows are falling, and if you need to make any adjustments, all before you take a picture. Unlike in flash photography, a lot of times you'll need a light meter or have to take several test shots and worry about sync speed and things like that. And then if you move the model or the lighting, you have to take another test shot to see where the shadows and the light is falling. So the workflow is so much faster with LED lighting because what you see is what you get in real time, just like our mirrorless cameras were designed. So I think Zhiyun has really done a good job and is being very innovative in their lighting products lately, and the G200 is really no exception. You know, what I really like is just a very compact, slim profile, allowing me to put this in places that I wouldn't otherwise normally use. Also having this head being very lightweight, I'm not as nervous about, you know, the light stands being too top heavy and do I have enough weight on the sandbags and things like that. And also when you get this light, it comes with this nice hard case where everything is kind of form fitted for the light specifically. So everything packs up nice and snug and secure. And you can, you can see it's not that big. You can take this thing anywhere with you. So it's travel ready to take on site. And if you're going to use this outdoors, like I said, you'll probably need a separate power station or something like I showed earlier. Now the current pricing for this is I think around $379. There may be some discounts now. I'll have my affiliate links down below where I'll earn a small commission that supports the work that I do here. So definitely check that out if you're interested. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope to see you again soon.